going on, guys? Thanks for tuning in to another video. This is hopefully going to be part 1 of 3 in my By the Common Hunter for the Common Hunter hunting gear reviews. If you're new to the channel, my name's Jake. That's my puppy Asher. I'm an avid outdoorsman, originally from Massachusetts, but currently live in Tennessee. I also spend as much time as I possibly can at my family's farm in upstate New York, doing all sorts of stuff. So if you're a hunter, fisher, or love to do anything that gets you outside, so do I. So glad to have you here. What we're up to today is retrieving my cellular trail camera now that the season's over. A few weeks ago, my buddy Sam and I were out here cleaning ducks for him, and we decided to dump the carcasses over here because I'd seen that there was some sort of predator hole right there. So I wanted to see what came, and picked up those leftover ducks, and it looks like that's all that's left. I don't even... Anyway, so today I'm going to be talking about why I switched to cellular trail cameras this year and why it's the best decision I ever made. So let me go ahead and get this off the tree, and then we can chat about it. Alright, so just to start, I want to introduce you to the trail camera that I have right now. This is the cellular one. It's a Realtree Delta base. Now, I'd never heard of this trail camera until I was watching a Tag and Brag video, which is one of my favorite YouTubers. If you haven't checked him out, definitely go check him out. It's Tag, T-A-G-N, Brag. On YouTube, they have big Instagram as well. They're awesome guys out in New York who also hunt, I think, Ohio, and I know they hunt here in Tennessee, so they're pretty similar to me, only a lot smarter. So that's how I found out about this cell cam. And prior to this one, I'd assumed all cellular trail cameras were like hundreds of dollars, and the fee per month was extraordinary. And it wasn't really until I looked into this one that I realized I could get it for a lot cheaper. And with that being said, I still wasn't sold on it until I was walking through Academy one day and found this on the end of the aisle for $80. So I had to jump on it. As it turns out, it's the best decision I made as far as hunting accessories goes this year. Prior to this setup, I had used cheap trail cameras like these. This one's a Moultrie, and this one's a Victor. It was just a cheap one I found on Amazon, I believe. It was like 30 bucks or something like that. Piece of crap. The Moultries I really like, and they lasted a long time. I had another one on the hillside over there, and the person who's hunting next door destroyed it. If you've watched my other videos, you know what I'm talking about. Anyway, there's really 2 main reasons I decided to break into the cellular trail camera category, and that's because where we're at out here, I'm 30 miles away from my house, so it ended up creating 2 real main issues. One was time and gas money it took to come and check the pictures. Either you don't come out here frequently enough to check them, or you do and it takes up a lot of time and a lot of gas money. With gas prices these days, and most of us hunters here drive trucks like this, which are gas guzzlers, it turns out being a roughly $15 a trip. So that prevented me from coming out here to check them, which leads into my second big problem, was that there was a lot of time wasted due to malfunctions, batteries, battery life, the batteries died, settings being off, I simply didn't turn it on, or some weather event caused the camera to fall or break, or it was on a tree that broke. And so sometimes I would go weeks and months having a trail camera out there expecting it to be working, just to show up a month later and have 0 pictures. So those are the 2 main reasons that I wanted to have it, all because I don't live where I hunt. There you go. Ah, you broke it. Go get it. He's not gonna find that. It's his fault because he broke the stick. So let's go take a walk and talk about the pros and cons of cell cams. And for starters, I'm not sponsored by any cell camera company, nor do I want to force people to spend money on anything. I wish I was sponsored so I wouldn't have to spend money on anything. Let's get started with the cons of cell cams. The things that prevented me from getting one sooner, but my understanding of the cons was not accurate, I would say. I guess I thought they were a bigger deal than they were. So if you're on the edge about whether or not you want to buy one and you're contemplating, you're probably thinking about these things. The first thing would be cost. Kudos to you, because I too am very cheap in everything I do. Like I explained with the trail camera that I have, it was $80. Now it's not cheap, but comparatively it is for a lot of the hunting accessories that you can buy. And there's a plethora of different trail cameras that you can get that are all different costs. I've seen them hundreds of dollars, I've seen them close to $1,000 that do different things. I don't know what they do, I don't care what they do, because I hunt on a private farm. I'm assuming most of you who are wondering about it do. I don't know how they would hold up on public land. I'm assuming they would get stolen or broken or something, or if they're even legal. I don't know. I don't hunt public land. I would love to, just never have. The initial cost is definitely a prohibitor, but then the idea of having to pay for a monthly subscription is extremely daunting. So let me explain that in a way that if you're like me, you can justify it. So your wife, husband, girlfriend, whatever, whoever you do your finances with, when that monthly charge comes in, they don't say, "What's this?" and then get all mad at you every month. Like I said, I hunt 30 miles from my home. I have to take a trip out every single time. Like I said, it's $15. My monthly subscription was $16 a month. So that paid for itself in one trip. Granted, I still drove out here because I love it, but that's something definitely to figure out. And you know, if you live 5 miles from your farm and you just are too lazy and you just don't want to drive out there, maybe that's where your value comes in for you. But that's the way that I justified the monthly payment, because I hate subscriptions. Second part of that is that you can cancel it at any time. I had it from October 22nd to January 22nd. So 3 months, $50. There you go. That's a Christmas present if you want it, or if someone offers it, you know. $80 plus $50. Sucks for hunting, which is supposed to be fun, but the pros definitely paid it for itself. It's worth its weight in gold. Good boy, get that stick. Bye. This looks like a pretty decent skipping rope. Oh, money, still got it. If you're new to my videos, you better get used to this noise. It's constant. I don't even hear it anymore. If you can't tell, I'm in the middle of nowhere, or at least decently far from the nearest city, which brings me to my second con. Service. Look at all those dogs. Where were those a few weeks ago when I was hunting them? So service. Cell cam needs service. For the Moultrie trail camera that I have, I had two options. One, Verizon, two, AT&T. Now that is not dependent on your phone plan that you have. I don't think. Could be wrong. Anyway, I went with the Verizon one because I have Verizon, so I know somewhat service that I have in areas around the farm, which isn't much. So I was assuming that I'd probably buy it and have to return it when I never got any pictures because there wasn't any service, which didn't end up happening at all. I had the trail camera on almost every part of this farm, and in every single spot I put it in, I'd gotten pictures. So I know I had it in spots where there's not much service, so it must not need that much service in order to send the picture, which is usually pretty good. So the other good thing about a trail camera is that if you have it in a spot where there is not any cell coverage, or if you're lacking coverage, which happened to me a few times, it would notify you on the app. It would say last updated. Basically, it would send a check-in. I think that's what it said. It said last check-in on the app. So you know when it's communicating with the trail camera. And if you have it in a spot that's just not gonna work out, you won't get a check-in, so you don't waste time. You know, if I went 2 or 3 days, even really one day and didn't get a check-in, then I would know something was wrong. So with all these check-ins that it's doing, you gotta wonder, how much freaking battery life is that taking? And that's one thing that sucks. It takes 12 AA battery. This season, I changed those out twice. I changed it out once pretty early on. I don't know if the first few weeks something happened, I don't know. I probably had it for a month before I needed to change those batteries. This definitely is not doing it justice, but everything is just glistening from this ice storm we had the other day. So if you're not worried about the cost of batteries, or you really want to make the investment into a one spot that you never have to go visit, never have to change out the batteries, you can always do those solar panels. They're small, like they sell accessory solar panels for trail cams, so you don't have to go and change out batteries as long as the site has sun. That's not even something I looked into. I have a tendency to move the cameras around a lot. We're out here on a working farm, so anything that lives out here is used to human presence. Not a big deal. It is less than a normal trail camera, so you should be aware of that. I always come over here by this pile. This is where they dump the scrap wood from the family business. And usually there's some critters in here. I'm really shocked about those doves. We went dove hunting a ton this year and never saw any. I think we shot 2. Guess now we know where they're hanging out. All right, so let's take a break from the cons and talk about some of the pros. These ultimately were enough for me to make the decision to go into getting a cell cam. For one, I already mentioned it, it's the gas and the time. Potentially some gas station stop, snack, beef jerky, chocolate milk, stomach ache, food, money. For me, it was $15 a trip, and you gotta multiply that by how many times you would visit your trail camera every month, and for me it was well worth it. The second most important aspect of it that I fell in love with, that I never even thought of, was being alerted to malfunctions so you could quickly remedy them. So how many of us have gone out, set up a trail camera in a spot you think is gonna capture some pictures of some huge bucks? You come back 3-4 weeks later and you have 0 pictures. Something happened, settings were messed up, whatever. You'd be alerted to that immediately because it wouldn't be functioning properly. You wouldn't be getting the text, you know, the pictures would be awful because a branch fell in front of it or something. So that was the biggest benefit for me. Timing based, whether there's a weather pattern that moves in, you don't want to miss, you know, cold fronts or snowstorms, or you know, you put feed out there, God forbid you put out a bag of corn or a salt block or something like that, and then you come back a month later and you have 0 pictures and there's a huge divot in the ground where you know there's been a ton of animals. Anyway, this year I had 0 malfunctions last more than a few days. My next pro is that it saves you from blowing out good spots. Sometimes there's a spot that, you know, it's in a thicket, it's a spot that you never walk to when you're wandering around, and you know it's just untouched by man and you want it to stay that way. In spots like that where you just don't want to blow them out, it's the perfect thing for that. You know, you set it and forget it, and you don't have to worry about the deer or coyotes so they don't pattern you. And that brings me to my next idea, speaking of patterns, is that with the notification setting of these cameras, you start to pattern these animals in an innate way. You get used to like the times and what the temperature is out when you're getting these notifications on your phone. I don't know if it's like a Pavlov's dog type of deal where we all just love our phones and we get excited when we see the notifications, but you know, you start to anticipate when you're going to get these notifications on your phone, and it becomes very easy to begin to understand the animals in your area, and you start to get to know which animals and the biodiversity in your area a little bit better because you're digesting the updates slowly. You know, you get a picture of this deer and it's just that one, and then you get a picture of a different deer, and you get a picture every night at 9 o'clock for a week, and then a cold front comes in and you start getting texts at 5-6 in the morning. You feel that and you understand it a little bit more, or you don't get those texts when you normally do. So yeah, it just becomes something that you can kind of get a grasp of what's going on in the area a little bit better, rather than when you would like hook up your SD card after leaving it for a month and have to thumb through 1,000 pictures. You know, you're not paying attention to time and temperature as much, so you don't get patterns and routines down as clearly. And to go along with that pattern and routine and really data that you're collecting from observation of when you're getting these notifications, if you don't, and you're not like me and you're not paying attention to it in that way, then the app is an absolute game changer. Because my app, I'll show you the screen here and walk you through it a little bit, but it feeds you data and graphs that basically that give you that aesthetically pleasing look. Deer are most active in your area at 9 p.m. because it's able to tag the animals and identify them in your pictures. It's able to collect data on it and can tell you deer are most active at 9 p.m. when the temperatures are between 50 and 60 degrees. You know, you get a nice little bar graph. And you're also able to, you know, if you have a really active night, or you're like me and you have the horse hanging out in the area and you get 3,000 pictures of a horse in a night, and a massive buck happens to wander in through horses having a heyday on your salt block, the app will actually identify the buck. Not only just a deer, but it'll say buck. So you can filter through all those freaking horse pictures and not waste your time looking at them. So the app is an absolute dynamite aspect of this math equation of whether or not you should get into a cell trail camera. Next up is the versatility of them. We have some family who's environmental scientists, and I thought that would be the perfect thing for them. You know, they can put one in an area and it'll do all the work for them. But it really is a fast track way of figuring out the biodiversity and the activity in your area. We're here at the gate at the entrance to the property, and it would be the perfect thing for surveillance. I mean, look at this fat tree right here. You could stick one up there and just have it pointing out that way, or another one pointing up the road here. Animal protection, like if you had cows or whatever in this field, it might be a little difficult to monitor them using that type of camera, but for my chickens in my backyard, we were having a few weeks where skunks were in our backyard every single day. We were hearing all sorts of critters in the back, and I was saying, oh, I wish I had my camera back home. I would stick it out there and figure out what's going on. So, I mean, you don't need to be a hunter in order to have one of these cameras and have it be beneficial to you. I think Hannah's dad was actually talking about using one out here for surveillance. They were having some kids show up and fishing. It ended up being fine, but it was just a thought that probably is a pretty good idea. The last pro on my list, and that's how you access the photos. The process of trail cameras is you go set it up in a spot, hope that it's working, put the SD card in, make sure the batteries are charged, and then wait. And then when you finally decide that it's time to go check it, you either got to bring your laptop with an SD reader, or if your laptop has an SD reader, you got to bring it out into the field, risking your expensive equipment, or you have to go get the SD card and then bring it out and swap out with another SD card. You know, that can be risky. I don't know how many times I lost SD cards going in and out of the woods, or bringing them home in my truck and putting them in the cup holder and them just magically disappearing. I did end up investing in one of these. I don't know if anyone has a version of this or one of these, but biggest waste of money. There just was no good process for getting your pictures off your trail camera. It was always a mess, and then once you had them, you had, 3,000 pictures that you had to comb through. And now you have the app that not only allows you to filter them if you do get a big upload, but you digest it slowly. With having your updates, like you can pick how many hours apart, 3 hours, 6 hours, days. Regardless, you're having the pictures come in at a slow pace, so you can digest them appropriately. You're not missing pictures. You're able to kind of analyze them a little bit better without it overwhelming. And that was a part that I absolutely fell in love with. Well, I was out here, so I figured might as well take a couple pop shots with my 22. Got him. Got him again. Thank you for watching. Like and subscribe. Post your comments below about your opinions on cell cameras. If I have any pros or cons that I didn't think of, please add them. All right, guys. Have a good day. Be safe.